Hello everyone. Today at ALTA Talks, it's just me. JC has actually gone up to the snow with our son, up to Falls Creek for a well overdue 4 nights away, so he can be with his kind, as I say. So it's just me today. And I'm going to talk to you about something that I'm really, really passionate about, and that is all about nutrition, reading labels, and telling you a little bit about what I know. Because I once worked in the food industry and I worked for some really blue chip high-end companies in their marketing department, and I worked in project management. So I had brands that I was responsible for, and I would develop, and it was in the food industry, I should say that, and I developed projects I developed food items to go into the supermarkets. And I did what I was told, and I also, not that I would do something and I did if I didn't agree with it as such, but I was really led by our dietitians and nutritionists, who were also then led by those who taught them and the industries we were in, to develop these products which we thought at the time were healthy. And I used to always pride myself and say, oh, you know, I only work in the health departments. I never want to work on soft drinks or chocolates. And even though they all play a role in our life, I didn't want to be working on a brand that was not healthy. And I thought that the brands that I was working on were healthy. And not to say that they were terribly unhealthy, but at the time, and what we know today, I'd be surprised if I would want to work on them. And it's probably one of the reasons why I did leave the industry, because I often felt that whilst I was trying to do something, and I did work on a project once called Project Natural, which was changing ingredients on the food items that I was developing to use all natural ingredients. But even what I know now today, looking at those natural ingredients, because I clearly remember working on them, I don't know that they're as healthy as what we would determine. And as you know, one of my favourite books, which I don't have here today because I've lent it out to someone, is Lab to Table by Cindy O'Meara, which talks about all of the ingredients that go into our food. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight on what I know and what I've worked on in the food industry. So, and I'm going to preempt it a little bit with one. These are my views. They're not necessarily anyone else's views. And if you're going to change how you're undertaking your nutritional intake, it's always best, if you're going to make any major changes, to go and check with your allied health member to ensure that what you're doing is right for you and your body. Because obviously pregnancy is a key thing, or if you have any illnesses such as diabetes or things like that. What I'm saying today may not be relevant to you, but to the general population, I'm thinking that what you're eating now and what I would be suggesting is certainly within a healthy diet. And this is what I'm talking about. Nutrition plays such a key role. And in fact, for all of us to really be healthy, there's several factors, well, pillars, if you want to call them that. That's the modern way of thinking. And the pillars are nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress. They're the four pillars that we need to have in alignment to really live a fully healthy, fulfilling life. Oh, and our community, of course. So that's really where it brings me down to today with nutrition, because I wanted to talk about what I know about the industry. So I'm also going to preempt it to say that I'm not saying that what we did at the time was done with any intention to do the wrong thing. It's what we were told to do. It's what we were told that was okay, and that we were told was a healthy way of living. But as you know, around about the 1960s, 70s, there was a debate on whether it was fat or whether it was sugar. And, you know, clearly now that debate shows that what we've been doing over the last 70 years, where we reduced our fat intake, good fats I'm talking about, and we increased it and changed it to then be changing the taste and the flavours and using sugar and other ingredients to enhance those flavours and make it more palatable, was the wrong way to go. I mean, we know that it's coming up everywhere. And two great books that I've been reading at the moment are The Obesity Code, which is called Unlocking the Secrets of Weight Loss by Jason Fung. He's a gentleman or doctor in Canada. His background comes on, he is a kidney doctor, and that's probably the proper word for that. And his questions were, why am I seeing so many people with diabetes? Why are so many of my patients having kidney failure when, what is it why am I getting them? And that so many of them have diabetes. So then he went back and said, well, so many of them have diabetes. So what is causing the diabetes? And then he also went back to diet. And my second one, which is just recently, A Live a Better Life. Now, mind you can see I haven't finished both of them. I'm always reading something. And I usually pick pieces out of the books and read them when I've got the interest, and then, usually get through the whole book. But this is about fatty liver disease. And this is actually one of my clients. It's her husband, Dr. Paul Gow. His is the Evidence Liver Better Life, the evidence-based diet and lifestyle guide to liver health and longevity. And I can't tell you, I was reading this book and it's just like, yes, 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 yes. These are all the things that we're doing. Now, his comes from a liver background, but amazingly, the two books and everything else that I'm reading cover off all the things that we know we should be doing, but we're not doing enough of in the general population. I know there's some people doing it, but in general, if we want to be living longer, healthier lives, nutrition, exercise, sleep, and reducing stress are the key ways to do that. And obesity is an issue. In fact, I was listening to a podcast today by Mike Mutual, and it was saying how with COVID, why in the last 18 months are we not talking about nutrition? Why are we not talking about all the things that need to be done, and exercise and sleep, to be one of the reasons that we need to change our lifestyle these days? Because those people who have suffered more from COVID have an underlying issue, and the majority of that, they are now saying in the research, can be resolved through nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress. So since I've delved a little bit into the other side of things, I'm going to go back to the food industry where I used to work. So one of the things that I used to work on was yogurt, and back then it was the 80s, mid-90s, looking at developing yogurts. It was a great brand to work on. I loved it, and I believed it was the healthiest thing. And we developed it wasn't me who did it, and I came into the brand later, but I worked on the brands of a full-fat yogurt, a light yogurt, and a no-fat yogurt. And what occurred during that is I loved the full-fat yogurt. I was all for it. And it had fruit variants and plain variants, and we also had natural and some probiotic ones. But then when we went into the light product, we started adding more sugars and flavors into it, and then no fat. I think it was aspartame, so you have to forgive me if I can't remember, but it was some modified, or it's some sweetener that we put into it, and then all the other ingredients. And if I was to look back on those labels now, I think I'd be horrified, because I wouldn't touch them these days. In fact, I look at every label when I'm purchasing something, and there's many things that I don't buy because of that. So it's what the industry told us to do. It was the dairy industry told us to do that. It was what we were being told to do, in the sense that, yes, we need to lower our fat consumption. And of course, when you lower the fat consumption in a yogurt, you start to lose the taste, that creamy taste that you get, and you get the mouthfeel. And then what we were doing, as you were going from a light product down to a no-fat product, we were putting in thickeners so that you would still get the same mouthfeel. Or we were adding the aspartame so you still got the sweetness. So it's all these things were happening, and really at the end of the day, it didn't create a healthier product at all. And people, as they now know, weren't losing weight by having these products. So then I went on to, where did I go through from there? I went to the juice industry. Again, I thought I was going into a healthy area of produce. So I still didn't get out of the fridge aisle. So I was working on fresh juices. And again, we were told that the fresh juices were really healthy for us because of the vitamin C. And there's no doubt the vitamin C is really good for us, but I'm wondering just how much vitamin C really was. It met the daily intake maybe, but I still clearly remember this story, and I think I might have mentioned this before in an ALTA Talks, that there was a new girl who came into the team after I had left, and she went to the dentist, and the dentist said, "What have you been doing differently? Your teeth are deteriorating." And she said, "No, I haven't done anything differently other than I've started a new job in a juice, as a juice brand manager." And the doctor said, "Well, how much juice are you having?" She said, "Oh, I'm drinking it every day." And he said, "Well, there it is. That's your problem. You've got, your teeth are deteriorating because of you're having too much sugar. And of course, if you're not rinsing your mouth out with water in between your tasting, it's sitting into your mouth and it's creating, at the end of the day, it's creating, what do you call it? Holes in your teeth." It's called something else again. But really interesting that was another eye-opener for me to go, "Oh, geez, what am I doing?" Then back to that, I went back to the yogurt industry. Nothing was changing in the industry. We were still talking low fat diet. We were developing new products for many different things. We were always adding flavors, colorings. We wanted to get a flavor that was like a fresh raspberry, like field raspberry or field strawberry versus I don't know, there was always a different flavour. And so whilst we added strawberries to it, we also added flavours. And they weren't natural flavours either. They came with a number on them. And we well know now that these are made with chemicals. As natural flavours, they might be derived from natural flavours, but the process that they go through means that they are using chemicals to either extract them or make them. So, someone can dispute me on this, but everybody that I've been reading about and who's done their research by renowned nutritionists and other people who have found that they've had issues because of in their nutritional, and they're coming up with problems with their health, have gone and explored it and realised that there is so much more to what is going into our foods that we buy into the supermarket, other than if you're going into the fresh food aisle. Obviously, we're not changing the bananas, but again, you've got to think about what are they growing with. Are they growing with pesticides? And it seeps through into the soil and it seeps through into our nutrition. So my last one that I wanted to talk about was when I was in the food industry. I actually worked for a company that made pasta, Mexican food, and pre-cake mixes. So again, I'm not here to have a go at anybody in the teams that I worked with. Again, we didn't know exactly what we're working with, and if we did, if anyone did know, they certainly kept it quiet from us. So I did what I thought was doing the right thing, and I know at times we were trying to make them better. I worked on like I said, the project called Project Natural, but however, knowing what I know now, it's really interesting because when I first started working for this company, they said to me, the whole team did, the marketing team would say, "Oh, wait until you've worked here in 6 months' time. You're going to put on 5 kilos when you work here because we're always tasting product." And sure enough, all I changed was my job, and I did. I put on 5 kilos and I struggled to lose that weight. I started doing more exercise and everything to combat that. I was trying to be careful that when I was tasting pasta first thing in the morning to make sure the pasta was good before it was went out to the market shelves, because we would do weekly tastings. So they had a very strict protocol with everything about what they did there. There's nothing that I could suggest that they did wrong at all with the production of it. And I even went in there and went, "Oh, wow, there's real meat and there's real vegetables going into those products." But also what was going into those products was colours, flavours, and what we know now, working with wheat, and it's not to say that it's not, you have to go off wheat, but what I'm saying is that I've reduced my wheat intake substantially, and I only have whole grains. I've reduced carbohydrates in other forms of matters, though we need carbohydrates in our diet. There's no doubt about that, because they all play a role. What we don't need is excess, because what happens with the excess, and again, this is not me being a doctor or the scientist, it's me being the layperson who's really interested in making sure that people are eating well, that when we have excess carbohydrates, they turn into glucose, that if we don't use them through energy, in turn into fats. And again, I'm not going to go into the whole detail of it. You need to read these books where these guys, doctors, and the research they've done have gone into that and said, hey, there's things that you need to stay away from, and they're well researched and well documented. But we've got a 30 to 40 years and going on 50 if people aren't going to start seeing that their nutritional intake does have an impact on their weight and their health. So it was just a bit of an eye-opener for me, and I wanted to let you know what I knew, and that it is still happening in the food industry today. So whenever I go into the supermarket and I look at the labels, some key things that I'm seeing on the labels are oils that they're using. So canola oil is in nearly every ingredient in biscuits. For some reason, I'm believing that when they say organic, GM-free canola oil, that we're thinking that's healthier. It's still canola oil. It still causes inflammation. So if you're having inflammation, and you'll know you're having inflammation if you're holding onto fluid, you've got, a bloated tummy and things like that, you're going to know that if you are having those oils that are not good for you, so any vegetable oil, then it's going to impact your health. But what is good for you are the good oils. So the extra virgin olive oils, the avocado oil, and we're talking good quality ones here, coconut oil, butter, ghee. Test them out if you like. If you want to know, go off all the oils for 2 weeks and then slowly introduce one of them back into your diet and see if it affects your weight, see if you're getting inflammation from it. You can quite quickly tell. It's a bit of an effort, but anything that we do requires a bit of effort. And yes, you might have to sacrifice on your sweet tooth for some time, but it's all in good. And you'll be surprised if you're reducing sugars out of your diet, that soon enough you don't have those cravings either. And in saying that, I still have the odd craving, but just the odd craving. And it's about having products that are good for you. So if I've got a bit of a sweet tooth, if I'm making my own cake with Rapadura sugar, Emmet wheat, knowing that it's all good for me, I don't see any weight fluctuation. So it's all about eating less processed foods in our diet. Lots of vegetables, lots of good, lots of water, hydration. In fact, I just want to see if I can find this bit because it's in here, and I'm borrowing this with pride, so I hope Dr. Paul Gow does not mind. I was looking at the Mediterranean diet, and because I still think, and maybe I'm not allowed to say this, but I still think as a personal trainer, but I can as a layperson, I still think that the Australian food pyramid has a lot to be resolved. But then I go and look at the Mediterranean one that Dr. Gow has put into his book, and you're not going to be able to see this as such. But if we're looking at his, this one here, I'll explain it to you. To eat less is red meats and sweets. So they're right at the top here. The next one down is poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt. So moderate portions daily to weekly. Then seafood, fish and seafood, often at least 2 times per week. This is the Mediterranean diet, which is really proven to be good for the liver. That was in the research that I've been reading in here. And they have a huge section here, huge. We don't have that on the Australian food pyramid at the moment. Fruits, vegetables, grains, mostly whole, olive oil, beans, nuts, legumes, seeds, herbs, and spices. Base every meal on these foods. And look what they put in their pyramid, which we don't have on our pyramid. It says, be physically active, enjoy meals with others. Now this, and just to the side, they've got their water as if it should be, and wine in moderation. If I was probably to do this just a little bit different, I would actually put hydration in the pyramid as well. I wouldn't have it out on the side. I'm not sure about the wine, but if you look at the Australian pyramid, we've still got oil on the outside, and we've still got our water on the outside. And we have a huge section that is carbohydrates in our diet. I don't have it here. It's actually downstairs in our studio. So to me, why aren't we looking at this? Whoops, doing this a little bit more. This is where I go. So, Live a Better Life by Dr. Paul Gow. That's my book of the week, if you want to call that. Or it's actually going to be my book of the month. My book of the year is still Lab to Table. And the obesity code is another one of them as well. That, again, I just keep reading, but the story is the same. The information, the outcome is that we need to have a lifestyle that is less, way less in processed foods, exercise, sleep, and stress. So if you want to know why, so this is where I'm going to go on to from here. And if anyone wants to put any comments in, feel free. I do have my comments. I always forget to put this on. Or has any questions, please put them into comments. If you're watching this later, you can put it in there and I'll answer them as well. Or if anyone's got anything burning that they would like to know that I've talked about today, or the books, I can put them into the to our post. What can we do about it? Well, you know what? It's hard. It really is hard to make changes. If you're on the road at the moment where you know that your nutritional intake is not 100%, I'm talking 100%, then you need to be going, okay, I need to make some changes. And I'm going to be honest with you, they all say it's really easy, but it's not that easy because we've become quite accustomed to the way our current products taste, their texture, their mouthfeel. And so when you start going into making your own foods and using unprocessed ingredients, you're probably going to find it lacks a bit of flavour. But give it time, and time will tell you that you'll learn, your taste buds will change, and you will learn that your foods will start to taste better and fresher, and you'll start to be able to discern the different flavors in your food. Rather than it just being sweet or salty, you'll be able to say, oh, I could taste that cilantro, or I could taste that cinnamon. Did you get that slight sweetness that came from the dates or the currants or whatever it is that you might be putting into your food? You will start to really relish those flavors, and so will your body, and so will your mind. So just think of it this way. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to take that step because the results are much better skin, weight loss, shinier hair, a clearer mind. It's about looks for you, you're going to look better. People are going to comment, going, "Oh wow, what are you doing? You're looking fabulous," or "You're looking younger for your age," or whatever it is. Like, what are you doing? And you have to say to them, well, it's not just as simple as, I'm doing this. I'm making a lifestyle change. I'm changing my habits. I'm changing the way I have consumed prior. Exercise is great, and it's definitely a part of the program. And as I think Dr. Paul said, actually, was that it's complementary. And no one says in the people who are looking at the newer ways of looking at our nutrition, no one says to do it without exercise. So exercise is complementary to changing your nutritional intake. And so is sleep. Is not complementary. Sleep is something that we have to do. So you have to look at your sleep patterns. So I can go into that in a whole other conversation, but sleep is really an important role too. But if you're eating better and you're moving well, then chances are your sleep is going to improve as well. So that's the other thing that you will notice, that when you start eating better, you won't, well, there's many things that will change, but you probably, from a female's perspective and going through menopause, one thing that I've noticed, that when I eat really super clean, there's no night sweats, and I think I've mentioned this before, there's no tossing and turning, there's no aches in the bones. And that's probably another thing that you'll start to notice, that when you're eating well, is you might have some niggly aches and pains. They often just totally disappear. So there's many different things that we can do in our nutrition to make those things happen. So there's a school of thought one, we can go on a diet. But as we are now finding out that these diets where we're radically reducing calories in, calories out sort of philosophy is being thrown out the windows. And even the macronutrients, there's question marks over using macronutrients as the way to measure how your food intake is going, because it's the quality of the calories going in that matters. So you can't just go, okay, I can consume my calories today with a bunch of cakes and a bit of meat and some salad, and there you go, I've had my calories, so then hence I'm going to lose weight. No, because our body doesn't use them like that. So it's not, I've stopped talking about calories in, calories out. That was when I first even just came into this industry 5 years ago. That's how everyone was talking. But since I'm interested in it and I've decided to do my own research and found that certain things didn't work, I realise now that both of these people who I've just talked about in these books both talk about calories in, calories out is not the way to go. So stop counting your calories, just consume really good food. And that's when you're going to notice the difference. So look for the things on the label. So I actually do have something here that talks about things. So I'm happy to send this through to you, but there is some things. I got this one from Changing Habits that says attitudes to avoid. You can find anything like this really easily on the internet. The information is out there. They're just telling you to stay away from the additives. And I can tell you, if you're making your food from fresh and you look what is in your flour, it's just wheat, or it's just sugar, or there's no colours, there's no flavourings added to it. It's just butter. It's just, they're the things you got to look for. I look for anything that has, if they have a number on them, I stay away from them. That's just a simple rule in my house. If it has canola oil, I stay away from it. So there are some things in our house that my kids would go, oh, I really want them. And I look at them, and I'm the Nazi. And I say, no, that's not what we're having today. I'm sorry, but I just can't give it to my kids. I couldn't go back and work in the food industry, I can tell you that now, because I just don't think I could live with myself knowing that I'm going to market a product that would have any of those ingredients in there, because it just would go right against my values. So I might be on one extreme, but I actually don't think I am. I just think that it's not to say that I don't occasionally have something, but I always have that philosophy, is it good for me, is it bad for me? And as I have become healthier and healthier, I don't feel the need to even consider those foods. So I look for the things that have simple ingredients on them. I want the convenience sometimes, but I've also learned that I've learned to enjoy cooking a meal, and that when I cook a meal for my family, I do it with love. And that's how I say to my kids, you know, what I presented on the table tonight is because I love you. I love that I can give you something that's good and healthy, and that's one way of me showing my love, but with good ingredients. Not showing my love by giving them lollies, or showing my love because they can have a Fanta. I'm showing them love by giving them good, healthy foods. So anyway, I've gone on a bit of a rant today, but I'm really hoping that you got something out of today's session. And again, if you have any comments that you would like to say, or any questions about what I've said today, please let me know. I'm always open for a discussion. I'm always open to looking at life and food and exercise in different formats. No one person is the same. So what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you, but you have to try it to know if it is for you or not. So I'm really hoping you enjoyed today's session. And just to give you a heads up, our next session, episode 14, is going to be with Dr. Michael Sexton from Sexton Chiropractic and Surf Coast Chiropractic in Torquay now. He's opened another place. I've been seeing Michael now for near on 5 years. I have a regular checkup with him, as do my children. And we're going to interview him next time with JC and myself, and talk to him about the world of chiropractic, when people have injuries, and they're reluctant to return, should we recommend to them? And also, how does Michael exercise, and his view on nutrition as well, because I know he comes from a background of chiropractics, or chiropractors, I should say, and that he leads a very healthy lifestyle as well, which is why for us, surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded and who values are very similar to yours. It makes it easy for us to live our life and easy for us to recommend Michael to others. So I really hope that you will join me on that show. And I am going to say goodbye now. And I've really enjoyed talking about this with you. It's my passion and I enjoy it. And I hope that everyone has a fitter, healthier and happy lifestyle.